Hey, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining, or I should say afternoon. We are at a lunch and learn. I'm so excited that you all are able to attend today. We have a great presentation that is going to focus on outreach and recruitment strategies. We are joined by David Cordova, who's with the Institute of Workforce Education. Before I introduce him, I just want to address a couple of logistical items. So, the first is our agenda. So, in just a couple of moments, I'm going to hand it over to David, and he's going to offer us a 10 to 15-minute presentation. And then we're going to switch into a discussion period where I'm going to open it up to all of you to discuss what strategies you utilize for your target audiences. How do you recruit? How have you found outreach methods to be effective? And then we're going to end our session today with a Q&A where you have the ability to ask David directly from his expertise about things that you're questioning, things that you've wondered about, and that will then kind of finish off our session for the day. During the discussion and the Q&A, you can utilize the chat feature or feel free to unmute yourself and just simply participate or ask a question. You are welcome to keep your video on if you would like to, but you are not required to. And this session is also being recorded. So if you want to revisit it, if there are team members that weren't able to attend today, they will be able to find this recording in the next 24 to 48 hours on the Illinois Works Partner Guide. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our presenter for the day, David Cordova. So David is a marketing and development manager at St. Augustine's College Institute for Workforce Education. He has implemented marketing and recruitment campaigns for various pre-apprenticeship programs, most notably in partnership with HACIA, the Hispanic American Construction Association. HACIA is a current grantee for the Illinois Works Construction Pre-Apprenticeship Program, and the Institute for Workforce Education is their training partner. In his presentation today, David will discuss the marketing campaigns and initiatives that have been effective in recruiting candidates for pre-apprenticeship programs. So now I will hand it off to David, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Christine, and good afternoon to all the participants. On behalf of SIA and the Institute for Workforce Education, best known as IWE, I'm honored to have been invited to make this presentation, where, as you mentioned, we will be highlighting marketing and recruitment practices that have been successful in recruiting participants for pre-apprenticeship programs. Next, and first of all, I'd like to tell you a little bit about ASIA and the Institute for Workforce Education. The Hispanic American Construction Industry Association works to ensure the equitable participation of its members in the construction industry, while also promoting the growth, quality of work, professionalism, and integrity of these individuals and businesses. It continues to clear paths of opportunity for Hispanics, minority, and women-owned businesses, enterprises across the Midwest by advocating for public policy, providing the tools necessary to seize and succeed at new business opportunities, and providing training and education. The Institute for Workforce Education, IWE, a division of St. Augustine College, is the leading provider of dual language workforce development services in Illinois. It provides customized on-site training to businesses and nonprofits, training incumbent workers and preparing adults for jobs in high-growth industries. It also facilitates access to local, state, and federal training grants. Next, ASIA and IWE have had a successful partnership for over 10 years, collaborating on implementing construction and other pre-apprenticeship programs in the Chicagoland area, with ASIA being the grantee and IWE serving as a training provider and marketing recruitment partner. We are currently implementing 2 construction pre-apprenticeship program cohorts in Chicago, funded by the DCEO's Illinois Works Division, with 27 participants in the first cohort and 29 in the second cohort. Over 200 leads were generated, which were then converted to the total 56 total participants. Next, I understand that all the grantees were required to develop a marketing plan, and I'm sure that the plans vary depending on the capacity and resources of each organization. I will go over some key elements of marketing plans that we have executed and specifically related to pre-apprenticeship programs, including electrical, carpentry, and construction laborer. As soon as a training grant is approved, we roll up our sleeves and start developing a marketing plan. Here is the abbreviated list of items to consider. I will speak in more detail about some of these a little later. First and foremost, we identify our target audience in terms of geography, demographics, etc. Next, we identify marketing channels that are available and that are within the scope of our budget and resources, and which also lead to the target audience. We create effective marketing materials that relate and connect with the audience, and also assign responsibilities to team members for each of the plan elements. And we also establish very specific timelines to follow. We schedule regular meetings with those involved in the marketing and recruitment process to assess progress, to plan, to create a sense of urgency as well. I cannot emphasize the last 2 points. Without assigning responsibilities and holding team members accountable, and also without regular meetings that keep the campaign on track and on schedule, it's very easy to find ourselves in a crisis mode late in the campaign with not enough time to change course. Next, once you have all the elements in place, like schedules, training locations, eligibility requirements, certifications, etc., it's time to create the marketing materials. We usually create new flyers for each program, but this time we decided to utilize the flyer templates available through Illinois Work, and then we customized it accordingly. If great marketing tools like this are available, which I see that Illinois Works has, I suggest that you use them because it will really help you to minimize time and effort. And there's already some great materials like this flyer that you see that are available to help you out. At the same time, a landing page is created in the ASEA website. We also create a program page in the IWE website, which feeds into the ASEA website's program page. All of our marketing is directed to the ASEA website so that every interested participant gets all the information and actually gets to apply. A marketing element that has been very helpful is the creation of an online application form. Many candidates register here when they hear about our leads through a Facebook campaign, through an e-blast, or referred by another partner agency. They actually come here, and before they contact us, they actually fill the application. And by the time that the recruitment specialist gets the lead, he or she has all the information needed from the candidate, which then cuts down on time and resources of interviewing and onboarding and in the onboarding process as well. Next, social media use and Facebook marketing initiatives have been a strong element in the success of our marketing and recruitment campaigns. We have constantly generating a significant number of leads from paid Facebook campaigns, which we implement about 2 to 3 months before and continue until about 2 weeks before the program starts. We basically develop the parameters uh, uh, to focus on the target audience, as I mentioned before, which include geographic reach, age, gender, ethnicity, if it applies, levels of education, workforce-related information, etc. Also, if the campaign is not as effective as you expect, you can always change the parameters pretty fast as needed and test different ways to reach your audience. This can be a rather inexpensive way to generate leads. It has worked for us, and I suggest that you look into this or other social media paid campaigns that have worked for you as well to make use of the marketing funds available through the grant. And of course, you want to post flyers and information ads in organizations, the organization's social media pages, as well as personal uh, social media pages of individuals involved in the process and in the campaign. Uh, Next, another good source of leads for us has been personal emails, e-blast, and outreach campaigns. We generally develop a template that our team uses to send out information about the training programs to targeted individuals and audiences, which includes a brief summary of the program, the flyer or ads that we produce as marketing pieces, and having a template helps to keep the message consistent so that everyone who is reaching out to potential organizations, to potential participants, is more or less having the same message in all platforms. Some of the targets that we have uh, gone after include local GED program providers. We actually have a GED program. We target all of our participants. We target all of the graduates from those programs in the last 3 years, but we also target local GED program participants throughout the local area and graduate list those who have graduated with a GED. We also target those who participated in past training programs and leads generated from past training programs. So if your organization has been involved in other training programs, it would be great to tap into all of those who have completed those programs and all those who may not have completed it, including leads that were generated. So we sometimes have had programs where individuals have not registered, but then we send them information about a particular program later on, and we bring them on board. So those are very good options. We ASEA and IWE, we send them to all the members, to all of our contact list that we have. And then we also reach out to community organizations and partners. And particularly, we focus on those who provide employment and workforce training services because they're much more motivated to actually relay information about these great pre-apprenticeship programs that we're promoting to the folks that they are serving. We are also reach to other local business organizations, local employment and career training agencies who sometimes help us to put this information, put our flyer in their newsletters, in their distribution channels, as well as a list of manufacturing construction companies that we have available. And of course, we include information in newsletters, e-blast that organizations send out. Next, we tap into the local media as well. Uh, your local media can be a good ally in disseminating information about these training programs. The first thing would be to write and send a brief press release. Doesn't have to be long, with basic information, contact information, when the program starts, where, and so on and so forth, and then attach the flyer as well. We you often seek radio interviews. We have gotten radio interviews, a couple of mentions in some uh, news programs for local stations. Sometimes they put the information in their bulletin boards, and so we find out that we are recruiting people through many channels. So it's just like going fishing. You throw in a lot of hooks, and you're likely to catch more fish. The other important aspect of this is connecting with key contacts in community service organizations in your area. Sending the e-blast is good enough, but sometimes it's good sending the information to someone who's your key contact in that information that can really help you to make sure that those organizations distribute the information and through their channels. Many times, they post it in their website page, they send it through their newsletters, post it on their other social media, etc. We actually have had quite a good luck with local organizations referring program participants to us in the past. Some additional marketing initiatives next uh, are that can have good results include the following. We organize a training program open house. where we did it virtually during the pandemic, but now that things are opening up, you can actually do it in person. And we usually promote the program with local nonprofits, again, emphasizing those with employment and workforce programs, and also to potential candidates, the list that I mentioned, the e-blast that I send out. Many times they include information, and they include information about a specific open house at a specific time and date, and we send them the link, and then you may be able to pick up a few candidates as well. Another good source of recruitment for us in the past, and now that the pandemic is easing off, is the local job and career fairs. So if there are some local job career fairs that you can attend, you can go out there, distribute information, promote it. If you cannot attend, you may have a local partner organization that I could actually, have your flyers available for participants to view and hopefully contact you if they are interested. Next, this is about processing the leads. Uh, as important as the successful implementation of a marketing plan so is the processing of the leads. I want to emphasize one more time the importance of having weekly planning meetings. What we do here is as soon as a grant is received, in that same week, we start having weekly planning meetings all the way through the start of the training programs. Here we review recruitment, we review the onboarding process, we find out how we're doing as every week progresses, so we can intensify our efforts in one area or another to make sure that we are on target to reaching the goals of recruiting the number of participants that we want. Um, Assigning staff to follow up thoroughly on leads. This is very important as well. Many times we assign this task to someone who is responsible for many other tasks, and sometimes this gets lost in the process. You have to have one or two or more persons assigned to follow up on the list thoroughly. And when I say thoroughly, I mean not just sending an email and waiting for them to come to call you to respond, or leaving them a message and waiting. It means contacting them on various occasions. This can be challenging and sometimes requires, that you text, that you email back a couple of times, that you call them. Sometimes the best time is in the evenings, and it's good also to have someone in your team who's available to make some of these calls and some of these contacts in the evening. And last but not least, it's approaching marketing and recruitment process as a failure to achieve the goals is not an option. If everyone in your team buys into this approach, your chances of reaching your recruitment goals will be high. Next, this concludes my presentation. If anyone would like more information about ASEA, IWE, or this presentation, you can reach Matt Smith of ASEA or me. Our contact information is on the screen. And also, Ed Cabezas from ASEA will be available during the Q&A session to provide information and answer any questions about ASEA and its programs. Also available will be Alejandro de la Luz, Miguel Salas, and Javier Garibay, the Executive Director of the Institute for Workforce Education, to also answer any questions about the Institute for Workforce Education. So thanks to everyone for your attention. And now back to you, Christine.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate you sharing all of these strategies and tools that you offered. I think that I learned a lot, so I'm really hoping that that is shared amongst our participants as well. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and shift into our discussion session. Again, this is going to be a great time if you have questions for David that you want to throw into the chat. Please do that during this time. But this portion of the program today is really to try to engage with all of you around what strategies you're utilizing in your program right now that you found effective. Are there strategies you've used in the past that have been effective? So I just want to invite anyone right now, go ahead and unmute yourself or put in the chat What strategies do you use that work for you and your target audience? So these can be anything that David suggested, or it can be things that he didn't touch on yet.
Hi, this is Dominique with Tools Up Foundation.
Hi, Dominique. Thank
Um,
you.
Hi, I'm trying to start my video. Hold on one second. Oh, there it is. Okay.
There you go.
But yeah, so a lot of what David was discussing is a lot of the different approaches that we've done with recruitment. For instance, with the social media, that was one of our biggest responses to get more recruitment. Um, so yeah, just like I said, the social media, just posting because whenever you post something, I like to think of it as when you post one outreach, like it's going to get to at least 20 people. And then like those 20 people might repost it. So it just keeps growing with the repost as well. So those are some of the methods that we've utilized that has worked really, really well for us. And that's what we plan on utilizing in the future as well.
Great. Thank you, Dominique. And I know we've had some responses in our chat as well. Tony said going out into the community and leaving flyers on cars. And then Elena said word of mouth, friends and family passing out flyers. So is there anyone else that wants to speak to some strategies that you've utilized? Well, let me ask, David, can I ask you, so Elena brought up word of mouth, and I know that can be really effective with some of the target audiences that we are working with. Is that something that your team has utilized? What type of effectiveness have you seen with word of mouth with these kind of target audiences?
I think word of mouth is one of the most effective ways of recruiting because there's nothing like someone hearing from someone else who has either gone through the program or is familiar with the program to motivate them to participate. And I know that our team has always been reaching out to past participants, actually not only just emailing but contacting them. And I think Alejandro de la Luz is on right now. He's one of our program managers working with ASIA as well as Miguel Salas. And perhaps Alejandro, you can share with the team, the importance of reaching out to participants who can help to spread the word and who can be and how effective that has been.
Absolutely, absolutely. It would be a pleasure to respond to the question, David. So it is definitely incredibly effective to do that. So we have had a pool of participants that have been through our training programs in the past. So we have a database that we collect all that information. We have their phone numbers, we have their email addresses. Emails are sent to them, the e-blast, the flyers of the training programs. They they reach out to their network of people, and us being able to connect with them, we have a big amount of participants that come through them, right? They refer their friends, their cousins, any family members. And actually, as a matter of fact, I still receive calls till today from participants that heard about the program through other people that were part of our network before.
Great, and we have Ed Cabezas also from ASIA. Ed, I know that ASIA has also has relied, heavily, not just for this but for past programs, on the impact of word of mouth, having past participants refer someone to you for programs.
That's correct, David. I would say that that's probably one of the key components to the success that we've had and the success that this program has had is it's the word of mouth is one thing, and I think that speaks to the overall professional handling so far as well. That key component, the professionalism, the staying on top of things, the double communication, um, So all that's been successful and absolutely key.
Great. And we've actually had some more responses in the chat as you all have been talking, which is great. So Victor says referrals from previous completers and or participants, which I think we just discussed as well, and kind of confirm that's an effective strategy. Reaching out to your network of BSC, BSRs, career coaches, schools, and libraries. Dominique says automatic responses to inquiries gives potential participants instant engagement. And Robin says, with our outside signage, we get some walk-ins. They also get referrals from other agencies. And they actually just hired a marketing manager this week to better help them with outreach and recruitment. So sounds like a lot of good strategies there.
Yeah,
So
and Christine, I'd like to point something out from
please.
Dominic's comment about automatic responses or immediate responses. I think that we're living in such a fast-paced world that when somebody responds to a message, especially electronically, it's very important that they are contacted immediately. Sometimes hours can be too late, and so that's one of the things that on our end, on our teams, one of the things that is key is immediately contacting that individual, because the sooner you contact them, the more you engage them right away, and also the easier it is to go ahead and maintain that relationship and that communication. Whenever there's a delay in communication, there's a problem of sometimes hooking up and connecting with that individual. So, immediate response is very key.
That's great. And that kind of leads into one of our questions from our Q&A is really focusing on that follow-up. I know that you said that you really suggest processing those leads with kind of a strategic approach. You have meetings set up, you guys go over your metrics. Is there kind of recommendations for how often to follow up with a lead, or is that something that you just have to feel out? And maybe this is for you or the Hacia team as they process leads.
Yes, and I think the important thing is to make sure that you exhaust your communications. Obviously, you cannot be contacting somebody 10, 15 times, but usually the way we approach it is we make sure that we contact them at least 2 or 3 times by email. We contact them by phone 2 or 3 times, and then at some point you have to let it go and focus on the next leads. But the point is that it's important to have some kind of a metrics so that how many times the person has been contacted, and that once we let them go, that we have exhausted that lead, and we move on to the next one. So it depends on the type of recruitment that you're doing, but I would say that contacting them at least 3 to 4 times at different times will be appropriate before exhausting that lead.
Great.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. So David's absolutely right with that, and we did that in the three-tier kind of prong, right? We had an initial phone conversation, we had an email follow-up, we guided them through the entire process and let them know where they were at, and congratulated them on their way from application to testing to interviewing, and basically at the point of where they were invested, right? They had a commitment from our team. And our team did have that strategic approach, right? Okay, we're going to start with email reach out. The first thing you need to do is apply. The next thing we need to do is move them along. And then with all that communication, it definitely was great. So.
And then another thing also that is important is that we usually send them an acceptance letter. They go through an interview process. We gauge the person's commitment, because this requires quite a bit of commitment. This is not a workshop or a seminar they're attending. They're restructuring their whole lives around this, and so it gives us an opportunity for us to gauge that, and for them to really understand the commitment that it takes, and also for them to know that if they decide to drop out, well, you know what, they're taking the position of someone else who could have completed the project, the program. And so when we send them an acceptance letter, it's kind of making them feel like they actually went through an interview, and that we felt that they have what it takes. So it's a little, it gives them a sense of accomplishment, and it is an accomplishment because, if we get 100 leads, and out of those leads we get 20, 30 participants, that means that perhaps we could have accepted more, but we had to narrow it down. And there were some people who apply who actually don't get accepted. One of the things that I think everybody everybody understands is that when you take the approach of failure to achieve our recruitment goals not being an option, that means that it's not going to be easy. A lot of times people think, well, all you're doing is recruiting 15 or 20 or 25 people. How tough could it be? Well, you're not just recruiting people to participate. You're actually recruiting people that have the characteristics, the motivation, the initiative, the perseverance to actually complete the program. Because at the end of the day, it's not how many people you recruited, it's not how many leads you got, it's not how many people you recruited, it's how many people completed the program. And then, of course, after that, there's the next process of helping to place them, whether it's in this case, helping to place them in apprenticeship programs, help them to place them in jobs, and so on and so forth. So it seems like it shouldn't be too hard to recruit 20 to 25 people, but it does require a whole process. And as I mentioned, it requires a certain level of education and professionalism, but more than anything else, the perseverance to make sure that we go after and that we reach our goals.
Great. Thank you, David. That was a
Mhm.
great answer and very important points that you made in there. So in the chat, Victor wrote that he's in total agreement for the use of social media, and he specifically mentions geofencing. Can you speak about, you kind of talked about Facebook ads and choosing the location, but can you speak about what is geofencing, what makes it effective, how have you used it?
Yes, yeah. When you geofence, you really zero in and target specific audiences, and sometimes also by geographic location. We actually did this for a labor training program that we did, where we actually targeted individuals in a specific area of Chicago, in the Pilsen Little Village area. And so all of our targets, whether they were Facebook and other social media, we targeted that particular area. And we also targeted organizations that serve individuals from that particular area, because the recruitment was very specifically tied to certain zip codes. So we targeted zip codes, we targeted very, very focused areas. And so geofencing actually can be a very, very effective way of spending your dollars, so that you're not reaching people in Elgin if your program is in Chicago, and you're not reaching people in Aurora if your program is in Joliet, or wherever it may be. So that's something that can be very, very effective as well.
Great, thank you. And the next, so we've kind of switched into our Q&A here, which is awesome. There's a lot of questions coming in. So Robin asks, I'm sure everyone has their own script in introducing their program, but is there a generic opening script that we could start a conversation with someone about programming?
I think that's part of the planning when you develop your talking points and your sales points. So that's part of the planning, where you have to develop your elevator speech. Obviously, you have your flyer that has all the information, and then in our case, for example, we develop a one paragraph summary of the program that we include in our emails, so that when we send out an email to an individual, or we send an email to an organization, we say, dear so and so, we provide the basic information that's needed, because sometimes, when you put too much information, people are not going to read it. It needs to be one paragraph. We attach the flyer, and then we go out and market it. So yeah, you do have to create a very brief description of your program, because many times you don't have time to either send or to discuss the program at great length.
So our next question is from Natasha. She says she would like to know, how do we keep participants, or in this case, leads, engaged if we're doing recruitment months before the actual program start date?
Yeah, and this is something that Alejandro and Ned can jump in, but I think the key here is that one is to keep them in contact, keep them informed about the program coming up, about any information. There has to be contact throughout the whole process to make sure that they don't lose any interest. Because you're right, you start the recruitment and marketing process 2 to 3 months before the program starts. Someone could be very motivated today, but the motivation can actually decrease later on, and it's up to us to continually, keep keep them informed and motivate them as well. I mean, I think that part of the job of the team, Ed, Alejandro, Miguel, is actually motivating and coaching folks to make sure that they don't lose sight of the importance of this program and the benefits that it will bring down the road, right?
Yeah, I agree 100% with you, David, and I'm pretty sure the rest of the team here can elaborate more on that. But what you said, I think, is key. We play a role of coach more than project managers and part of the recruitment team. We talk to them, we hear them every time they have a question. We answer the phone, we send them text, we send them emails. The more engaged you make them feel, the more success you're going to have to retain them, and that's something that I believe we did pretty well from both sides, from the IWE side and from Hacia side as well. So both teams, both project managers, project coordinators, were working every single day engaging these folks from the recruitment process till now and until the end, pretty much.
Mhm. Miguel, do you have something to add there? I think you're muted, Miguel.
Yeah. Yes. So as Alejandro mentioned, from the beginning, we engage with each of the applicants. For example, when I receive a call, I try to, provide all the required information. We ask about their availability, because we know that a lot of the times they have a daytime job, they have other responsibilities. So we want to make sure that we provide all the information, the times, the days, and sometimes they need additional help in terms of daycare. So what we do there, we refer them to other organizations where they can receive those services. So we try to help them, be available for our training, times and days. So we follow up with texts, emails. And then, for example, if you're going to start your training in a few months after you start with the recruitment, we try to call them once a week, just to keep them engaged. How's everything going? Any changes in your availability? So by the time training starts, they are still motivated to start the program. So that's typically what we do. Hacia, they also try to call them, engage them. So I think it's a team effort, and I think we've done a pretty good job.
And one of the things that I want to emphasize on this point is the fact that the organizations need to have a work hand in hand with their training providers. Many times, or the grantee and the training providers are working separately, the training providers are just providing training. But in the case of ASEA and IWE, because we've been working as partners for over 10 years, we have the fortune of having two teams that when the project starts actually work together as one team, and we are together from the beginning to the end. And I cannot emphasize the importance of those partnerships. And I think Javier Garibay is joining us also right now. He's the executive director of the Institute for Workforce Education. And Javier, I think that the importance of having this type of partnerships and working as a team between the grantee and the training provider, is very important. Perhaps you can add something to the level of importance of this.
Well, thank you for that, David. And the people involved in work.
I think we lost you there, Javier.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead. You can start all over again. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. No, thank.
Did we lose you again?
I don't have internet, so I'm relying on my phone right now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. No.
Seems like we might have lost him again.
Yeah, I think we lost you again, Javier. But at any rate, I think that's something that. Yeah, I think you're coming in and out, Javier.
That's okay.
At any rate, I just wanted to highlight the fact that the relationship and the partnership that we have been a key ingredient to making sure that we go through the recruitment process, because we're both ASEA and IWE. We developed a plan together, we implement the plan together, and we're always recruiting together and wherever we go. So that's just food for thought for all the participants.
Right. And I think that's a good lead in to a question that Amari posed, is what are the best ways to handle different staff members reaching out to individual trainees? So making sure that trainees feel supported despite talking to one person during recruitment, one person during enrollment, another for placement, maybe even different folks during recruitment. How do other organizations handle the unity of voice and responsiveness?
Is this directed to the participants?
No, so it's to you or anyone from ASEA. It could be also other participants, but how do you all handle that? Because I know you were just saying you work hand in hand from two different organizations.
I'll touch on that a little bit, Christine. So luckily we've had a great and strong team here that we've built. Matt, myself, Grace, Nora, the case manager, and the IWE team. We had, as David had mentioned, phenomenal communication. So anytime we had a participant, let's say, give us information specifically, we would all tie each other into just even an email or a phone call. And those powwows that we would have weekly, even sometimes semi-weekly, just help touch on every single candidate. I mean, we knew some of them by name. We know some of their particular stories, and it's because that deep involvement, right? That team participation. So I would say that the uniform message is the same. What we're offering, right? The value proposition of the actual program. You're receiving this free education, you're getting certified 4 ways, and then at the end of it, the ultimate outcome is to transition into a DOL, right? So if you value proposition it correctly, I think that you'll have no problem in candidates being interested and staying interested, and that uniform message just kind of stays the same. It's not as difficult. I feel it is sort of that coach team mentality, a little bit of that sports analogy, right? But that's what's worked for us.
Yeah, and the other thing is this, that to your point, sometimes if somebody's dealing with different individuals, it becomes a little cumbersome. The communication level line is broken, and in our case, it's important we always have the same individuals reaching out to the same project managers, so that once the individual is engaged, they're dealing with one person, and it makes it a whole lot easier to do that, because when you have different people coming in and out, you lose the personal touch, and sometimes that communication, is affected.
Thank you. So our next question is from Dominique. She says, what targeted age group have you found most likely to complete the program and transition? So that's for any of you.
Yeah, well, in our case, we have actually had targeted youth, 17 through 25, but we have also done some programs where we have targeted older individuals. I mean, I think we pretty much have had a good level of success across the board. But Alejandro, Miguel, is there a specific uh, age group that you think that we have been more successful than others?
I think from my experience and the statistics that I have seen in our programs, I would say that we do have indeed younger folks from 17, over 17 years old, of course. But I think the age group that stays the most and completes successfully the programs is between 25 to 35. There are individuals that are very focused and they know what they want, and I think that's an age group that is very strong in our pool of candidates.
Okay.
Great, great. Thank you. So we don't have any other questions in the chat right now, but I did have a question about local media and press releases. So I like that you talked about that. I think that's a great strategy. And I wonder if you could talk about any advice that you, this is for David or the Hesia team, if you'd like, uh, any advice that you could give to an organization who's maybe never done that before. Where do they start? What are tips for that?
Well, I think there's every organization, every news media, they usually have some kind of a person, a community relations person. They have sample press releases that they can send out. If anyone here is interested, we can actually forward them a couple of the press releases that we have sent out, promoting these programs. And the most important thing is to make contacts with someone, usually the community relations person, but it could be a reporter, it could be a producer, it could be an assignment editor from a radio, TV station, a program producer for a radio talk show or what have you. And you'll be surprised how responsive some of these folks can be. We have had folks who call us because they saw us on WGN or on Univision, or they heard an interview on a local radio station, and so on and so forth. So, we usually track the source of our participants, and they come from practically every marketing element that I mentioned in the presentation. We get a couple from our radio station that aired an interview, 3 or 4 from some of the e-blasts that we sent to community organizations, 5 or 6, 7 from our Facebook campaigns, and so on and so forth. So in our case, for example, we don't depend on a Facebook campaign, even though it's one of our most effective methods, but we gotta just keep on going. The other thing also is that, when you're out there recruiting for these programs, it's not an easy task. And if you want to recruit 20 participants, then, you probably should make sure that you have, 50 to 60 good leads to convert into that. So it's always better to try to exceed the number of leads that you think you're going to get. And also, if you're looking for a certain number of participants, 20 participants, will reach for 25 or 30, because you actually maybe 2-3 weeks before your start time, your goal was 20 participants, you have 23, and you may lose 2 or 3 or 4 before the start time comes. So you got to make sure that you have a little extra there in case some of those issues come up.
Great, great. Well, thank you, David, so much. Thank you to the Hesia team. I do not see any other questions in the chat, so I am going to just wrap up our session today. Thank you all for attending. I'm going to put a link for a short survey about today's session that also will allow you all to also provide some additional lunch and learn opportunities or topics that you might want to see. We did have significant interest, David, in your offer to send out samples. So maybe you could send them to me and I could send them out to all of our program administrators. I'm sure they'd all benefit from that. But here is the link. I just put that in the chat. If you can take just a moment to complete the survey for today's session, that would be greatly appreciated. We do use that feedback to kind of form and continue to improve our programming. So thank you again to David. Thank you to all of our HACIA panel members that came up. We really appreciate it. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Bye,
great day.
everyone.